years ago. And the reason why this made me scared is because it relates to my deepest fears. See, I'm not scared of spiders, clowns. I wouldn't even say I'm really scared of dying. What I am scared of is living while all my other family members have died before me. All my friends and family have died before me. So watching this scene, where Forrest has now watched Bubba, his best friend, die. He's now watched his mama die. And he's now watched Jenny die. And he's sitting there, alone, talking to her. That terrifies me. But don't let me scare you guys into thinking this movie's all doom and gloom, all morbid. I would say the biggest theme in this movie is actually hope. There are many instances of hope in this movie. From when he wins the ping pong tournament, to meeting the presidents twice. A lot of it. But if I'm going to choose one, it's when him and Lieutenant Dan are out shrimping together. He buys a boat, a shrimping boat, Forrest Gump, because his friend Bubba asked him to. It was one of his last requests. And so him and Lieutenant Dan go out shrimping for days, and they don't catch anything. And then a big storm comes, and it wrecks all the other boats, just leaving Forrest Gump and Lieutenant Dan left standing. And they become successful, widely successful. And so this gives me hope that all the trials and tribulations we all go through will mean something. Take, for instance, my applying to UCLA. I applied as a senior in high school, just like all you guys. I had a great GPA, I was in varsity wrestling, student council, drama, I did all of it. Got denied. But I didn't beat myself up. A lot of people got denied, most applied to college in the nation. So I applied again as a transfer with a 3.96 GPA from 2 years at UCR. Once again, I was denied. And then I finally threw a Hail Mary and I applied with an appeal. Less than like 2%, 1% get in. And I finally got in. So that gives me hope that all the things we go through will finally mean something. So in conclusion, I've told you guys about how this movie has made me feel disappointed, it's made me feel scared, it's made me feel hopeful. There should be no doubt that this movie has really moved me. In conclusion.
Tie back.
Yeah. I hope you guys will watch this movie, and I hope you guys will try to live like Forrest Gump. That you guys will try to enjoy every bite of chocolate that life gives you. Because you never know when you're going to run out, and wish that you enjoyed it just a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you.
5:44.
5:44. Okay. We lost about 1 minute in changing the battery. I apologize for that. I just didn't realize it was getting so low.
Yes, sir. Felix?
Hi, Felix.
Your speech was phenomenal. It felt like all the energy that you put into the speech. It felt like as if you were just like talking from the words of Forrest Gump himself. So I feel like you showed powerful emotion, showed powerful practice. You worked hard for this speech, and it really expressed through the speech.
Thank you.
Thank you, Felix. Improvement.
Hi, I'm Isabel.
Hi, Isabel.
I agree with Felix. This was really insightful. The only thing I would say, I hate to mention, for sometimes you pause a lot, and that just makes the speech more choppy and not flow as well. That's the only criticism.
Let's start with that. Kevin, was that a issue of kind of trying to remember, or you were going for the dramatic pauses, or a little of both, or what was the deal on this?
Some of the pauses were to get back into the feeling of whatever emotion I was trying to express, but quite a few of them were intentional. There were some where I was trying to memorize what came next, but I'd say the vast majority were men.
Good, good. Well, let's start with your intro. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. You know, I've heard that so many times. I want to, not hear it again. So I was glad that you changed it up, and and I'm glad you tied back to the change. So that was creative. I appreciate that. Your thesis preview was fine. Just a little bit more oomph with your voice on disappointed, scared, hopeful. So we have that narrative jumps out at us a little bit more. Quoted Roger Ebert. Okay. Said you agreed with him. And you said that it can make people feel different emotions. And I do think, I read his review, and he really got it, the film, the way I got it. Film is really many things to many people. You know, it's sort of every man has potential to do great things if he wants to develop that ability, right? So, but I liked his review, and I'm glad you quoted that one. So it was a good sig statement. On your main body, you talked about disappointment, and by the way, you had the Chicago style. Thank you. On the disappointment, the thing that you described was just something about yourself, I guess, that when you don't perform up to stuff and a friend of yours does a little better, you feel disappointed. And so I got that emotion, and so that came through. So, you know, you have to study better, harder next time, and that sort of thing. So that was good. And I like the way you said, now that I've told you disappointment, let me tell you that I was also scared. So you had kind of a rolling, you know, transition there, which was good. On the thing about, and it was really out of the blue, but it was honest and unexpected that you fear being the last Aggie on the planet, right? So, yeah. And that was interesting. I guess I would have, you didn't have time. You really should have cut down on the plot summary and spent more time on the emotions. But I would have liked you to have heard more about that. That was very interesting to me, and I didn't really get it, but it was interesting. And I thought very self-revealing about you, and I appreciate you sharing it. It was a genuine emotion. Yeah. So you said, well, it's not all morbid. There's some hope, and you talked about your persistence in getting here, going to Riverside and being rejected twice, and then the Hail Mary with the appeal, and then Eureka, it worked. And that gave me hope. So I would have structured that a little differently and sort of said, you know, I was kind of giving up hope a little bit when it wasn't happening, but, you know, one more time, and, you know, there it went. Summary, conclusion, fine, and tie back to the new quote, good. Goals. You write the word speech pattern, so you can explain what you mean by that. Fluidity, and you wanted to connect with your audience. How did it go?
I definitely think I connected with the audience.
Yes.
I guess I would say my speech pattern was good. I would say the fluidity would be something I would need to work on just a tiny bit more. I'm getting closer each time, but.
And what do you mean by speech pattern? That you have the prompt down and you know it? Is that what you mean by pattern?
Speech pattern, I mean,
pattern of organization, or
just
what?
the flow of your voice. You know, when
oh,
you
the
speak.
patterns. Okay, yeah, good. Okay, just so you know, you got to watch the time and get it in under 5. But good job. Thank you. Okay, I need another body in front of me. Thank you. Good. And you need the green meanie. Rock and roll, Abigail.
Hi, my name is Abigail.
Hi, Abigail. Drop that phone. Yeah, go ahead.
Qué triste se escuchan qué triste se escucha la lluvia bajo las casas de cartón. Qué triste vive mi gente en casas de cartón, which means how sad the rain sounds under cardboard ceilings. How sad my people live in cardboard houses. Today I want to talk to you about a film that really moved me. This film, Voces Inocentes, Innocent Voices, by Luis Potowski, really moved me.
How did it make you feel?
This film made me feel blessed, it made me feel hopeful, and it made me feel sad. Movie critique Bob Strauss rates the film as one that is not perfect, but it's necessary. And I couldn't agree more. This film really talks about the hardships that people face and how one has to see that through different eyes and not just a sugar-coated view of the world. So let me start off by telling you how this film made me feel sad. This film made me feel sad in a particular scene when Chava's grandmother talks to her daughter, Chava's mom, and tells her that she should move over to a shack that's near hers. Chava's mother responds back by saying that she doesn't want to move because what if Chava's dad comes back from the U.S. and finds them and then they're not there? Chava's grandmother responds back by saying, people who cross over suffer more than those who stay and fight. This scene makes me feel sad because I've seen this come true through personal experience. My parents came over from Mexico to the U.S. to give my siblings and I a better life. And through this, they have suffered more than if they would have stayed there.
Second way the film movie was it made me feel hopeful.
The second way this movie made me feel is it made me feel hopeful. The scene that particularly made me feel hopeful was when Chava and his siblings are out playing by the river and they're picking mangoes. They're laughing, they're cracking up, they're having a good time. And despite the war in El Salvador and the loss it brought to many, they're still there enjoying time and forgetting about everything else. This particular scene made me feel hopeful because when my father passed away, we went back to Mexico to bury him in the land that watched him grow. And when we buried him, we had a great deal of sadness within us. But one day, my uncles took us to the river where there was a lot of trees covered in mangoes, and we were just there picking, laughing, enjoying time. For an instant, we forgot about all the grief we were going through. But when I saw this scene again in Chava's film, then it gave me a sense of hope. It made me realize that we have to keep on going through all these hardships and keep going in order to make our parents' sacrifices worth it. The third way this movie made me feel was that it made me feel blessed. The particular scene that made me feel blessed was when Chava flees from El Salvador to the U.S. and comes back promising that he'll come back for his 12-year-old brother so the army doesn't capture him and kill him. This particular scene, though sad, made me feel blessed because I've never been present in a time of war nor suffering. I've always had the necessities. I was never missing anything. My parents always made sure that we were okay. And even though my father passed away 11 months ago, when he was here, he was always attentive of us. He always made sure that we were okay and that we were physically and emotionally fine.
Summary?
In summary, I have told you how this film made me feel. This film made me feel sad, this film made me feel hopeful, and this film made me feel blessed. In conclusion, this film deals with a lot of emotions and particular themes such as having hope, realizing what you have and not taking it for granted. And despite the adversities Chava faced, he still was able to overcome them, as well as I hope to overcome my adversities.
Tie back to the cardboard house. Okay, good. Thank you.
523.
523. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie.
I really liked your speech. I really liked your hook. That really caught my attention. And then also your last two personal stories. I really liked hearing about because I feel like we really got to know each other.
Okay, improvement.
Hi, I'm Sydney.
Hi, Cindy.
I also really liked your speech. I thought you did a good job making an emotional connection with the audience, but I think an improvement just would be the memorization. Just perhaps
Okay, good. Abigail, I like the Spanish beginning, and it was a grabber and really a catchy way to start your speech. You had the translation about cardboard ceilings and cardboard houses, so that would have been a nice tie back. See, that's what a tie back does, is it goes back to where you started. Sad, hopeful, and blessed. And let me just say very quickly that what it didn't do was return to the emotion at the end of each segment. And the incidents that you shared about your parents clearly were sad, but you didn't say it made you sad. On hopeful, the celebration with the mangoes afterwards, after your father passed, we could tell that was a hopeful time, but you didn't say, and that's why I felt hopeful. And the same with blessed. I was never for want of anything, because my mother and father always provided. That's why I felt blessed. Your summary was good. The conclusion is there should be no doubt in this room that this film really did move me, and then tie back to the cardboard ceilings and shot. You said, I want to move 3 times. Slow down and try not to skip any part of it. How'd it go?
I definitely skipped a lot of it. Mostly the conclusion.
Yeah.
The walking was better because the first time I actually did my speech, I just went back and forth, and forth.
Okay. Well, you got it done. Next time, practice more and get your fluency up, and you'll do great. Thank you. Okay, well, we're out of time. So we have Julie. Who's left? Just Kiara. Okay, that's good. And Sydney. Okay. Sydney. Okay, well, remember, we're starting PCs. It doesn't matter that we have films left. We're starting PCs. PCs, be ready.